What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about maintaining perfect health was wrong? What if the most powerful tool for healing, rejuvenation, and extending life is already built into every cell of your body, yet we know almost nothing about it? Does it sound like a science fiction plot? Yet this incredible, seemingly paradoxical idea was revealed to the world by a modest Japanese scientist, Yoshinori Ohsumi. Imagine our body is not just a collection of organs, but a complex system capable of incredible self-regulation. For years, science sought external solutions, new medicines, diets, exercise equipment. We tried to add, build, replace, but Ohsumi looked where almost no one else did, inside the cells themselves. And there, he saw something utterly astonishing, a process comparable to a high-tech internal recycling and purification system. Your body knows how to break down old, damaged, or unnecessary parts and then use them as building blocks to create new ones. This isn't just cleaning, it's deep, continuous regeneration. We will be discussing this mysterious process, which has been named autophagy today. We will delve into the world of Ohsumi's discoveries to understand how they revolutionized our understanding of how our body works and why this knowledge can change your life. We began by discussing autophagy as an internal recycling system, but it's far more than just cleaning. Imagine your home. Every day something wears out, accumulates, or breaks down. Old furniture, broken appliances, peeling paint. What do? You call repairmen, buy new things, throw out the old. These are external actions. Now imagine your home is alive. It has its own incredibly intelligent team working 24/7. This team constantly scans every room, every corner. It finds an old broken couch, and it doesn't just throw it out, it disassembles it into its parts: wood, fabric, springs. These materials are then immediately sent to the home's internal recycling plant, and from them, right on the spot, new, more efficient, modern parts are created for a new couch, or even for roof repairs or new wiring. Do you understand? Not just waste disposal, but a total zero-waste renovation that makes the house stronger and more functional, using its own resources. This is precisely how autophagy works at the cellular level. Your cells are those homes. They constantly experience malfunctions, proteins misfold, mitochondria. The cell's powerhouses age and perform poorly. Even invading viruses or bacteria can be marked as undesirable elements. And that's when the cellular renovation team steps in. It identifies these damaged or unnecessary components, engulfs them with special membranes, and then delivers them to the cellular recycling centers and lysosomes. There, everything's broken down into the tiniest building blocks: amino acids, fatty acids, sugars. And these blocks are immediately put to use to build new healthy proteins, new functional mitochondria, or simply to provide the cell with energy during difficult times. This is not merely a survival mechanism, it is the key to longevity and disease resistance. It's an internal quality control system that constantly renews and rejuvenates every one of your cells, keeping them in peak condition. Without this process, cells quickly accumulate waste, age, and begin to malfunction, ultimately leading to illness and accelerated aging of the entire body. Yoshinori Ohsumi and his team were able to literally peer inside this process, describe its molecular mechanisms in detail, and show exactly how a cell decides what and when it needs to eat and recycle. His discoveries became the foundation for understanding how we can influence this process to improve our health and extend our lives. Think about it. Your body doesn't just react to external threats, it constantly, from within, performs profound self-restoration work. That's astonishing, isn't it? And then the main question arises: if this powerful tool is already within us, how can we activate it? How can we make this internal renovation team work as effectively as possible? Let's find out. It is here in the search for the answer to this question that Yoshinori Ohsumi's discoveries become truly revolutionary. He didn't just describe autophagy, he showed how we can initiate, regulate, and enhance it. And this leads us to a striking, even counterintuitive conclusion. One of the most powerful ways to activate this internal renovation team is, paradoxically, to deprive the body of its usual comfort, more precisely, to deprive it of a constant influx of food. Imagine a cell. It's accustomed to receiving energy from external sources. from glucose, fats, and proteins that we supply with food. This is its primary fuel source. But what happens when the external source runs out? When you don't eat for several hours, the cell doesn't panic. On the contrary, it switches into internal search mode. It begins to look around within itself, searching for anything that can be used: old, damaged proteins, worn-out mitochondria, those very power stations that are no longer operating at full capacity, even fragments of viruses or bacteria if they have infiltrated. This isn't starvation in the usual sense. It's a strategic internal mode of self-sufficiency and cleansing. The cell understands there's no external intake, so it's time to put things in order internally and utilize everything that has accumulated. And it begins to actively dismantle this cellular waste, transforming it into new, fresh building materials and energy. It was Ohsumi and his team who meticulously described which genes and proteins initiate this process, how the cell senses a lack of nutrients and triggers autophagy. This is not just a hypothesis, it's a confirmed molecular mechanism. Think about it. Our entire modern eating culture is built on the idea of constant supply. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. We fear hunger, considering it a sign of weakness or danger. But Ohsumi's discoveries overturn this paradigm. They show that these very periods of absence, when our body is not busy digesting and assimilating food, are a golden time for deep internal cleansing and regeneration. It's like giving your internal factory not just a day off, but an opportunity to reconfigure equipment, discard defects, and start producing higher quality output. This is not a call for grueling fasts. It is an understanding that moderate and controlled periods without food, known today as intermittent or periodic fasting, are a powerful biochemical signal for activating autophagy. You're not just losing weight or detoxifying. You are literally initiating a program of self-rejuvenation at the cellular level. Your cells become more efficient, more resistant to stress, and better protected from the damage that leads to aging and disease. This shift in thinking, from constant addition to strategic absence, is one of the most powerful practical conclusions from Ohsumi's research. He didn't propose a new pill or diet. He showed how we can use the built-in mechanisms of our own body simply by creating the right conditions for them. This is not external intervention, but the activation of the body's intrinsic wisdom. And this applies not only to fasting. There are other factors that, as we now know, influence autophagy, but more on that later. The main point is that we now understand sometimes to become stronger and healthier, you don't need to add something, you need to remove something. But if fasting is one such factor, what about another pillar of health that seemingly only adds strength and energy? I'm talking about physical activity, about movement, about exercise. Every one of us knows if you want to be healthy, move, run, jump, lift weights, and most of us imagine this process as simple accumulation: more muscle, more endurance, more energy. We try to provide the body with everything it needs: a sports nutrition, protein shakes, constant replenishment to build ourselves up. But here, as with nutrition, Ohsumi's discoveries force us to look at things from a completely different angle. Imagine your body isn't just a machine that needs constant refueling and external repairs. It's more like a high-tech factory capable of radical self-modernization. When you train intensely, especially performing exercises that create significant stress, be it high-intensity interval training, strength training to failure, or long runs, you're not just building muscles, you're creating controlled stress at the cellular level. Mitochondria, those energy powerhouses we discussed, begin to work at their limit under stress, and some become damaged. Proteins experience stress, misfolding, even DNA can sustain micro damage. These seem like negative consequences that need to be immediately healed externally. And the layperson would say, oh, I need to recover faster, give my body everything for repair and growth. But Yoshinori Ohsumi and his team would show that this controlled damage isn't a breakdown, but a powerful signal. It's as if you're intentionally hitting an old wall with a hammer to signal an internal repair crew. Hey, we need to tear this down and build something better. The cell, sensing this stress, this load, triggers autophagy. It actively begins to dismantle damaged mitochondria, defective proteins, all the cellular debris that accumulated during the workout. And the most amazing thing is, from these fragments, It builds new, more efficient, more resilient components. As a result, your muscles don't just grow, they become more enduring, and your cells become more resistant to future stresses. This isn't just growth, it's adaptive rejuvenation and functional enhancement at the deepest level. Consider marathon runners, triathletes, or professional athletes. Their bodies are subjected to colossal stresses, but they don't just exhaust themselves and recover with supplements. Their bodies constantly adapt, becoming stronger and more efficient. And now we understand that autophagy, the cell's ability for deep self-renewal in response to stress and energy demands, plays a key role in this adaptation. So, the next time you feel that pleasant muscle soreness after a good, truly intense workout, remember, it's not just lactic acid buildup or micro tears that need to be fueled with protein. It's your internal renovation team actively working, dismantling the old and building the new, the more perfect. This isn't just external growth, it's an internal, deep biochemical transformation that makes you not just bigger or faster, but fundamentally healthier and more resilient. And this completely changes the perception of what it means to train and recover. We aren't just adding strength from the outside, we are teaching the body to be smarter and more efficient using its own built-in mechanisms. Sometimes to become stronger, you need not only to exert yourself, but also to allow the body to rebuild itself under that exertion by activating its internal wisdom. We've talked about fasting, about physical exertion, and about how moderate stress triggers deep self-renewal processes. But there's another factor that, at first glance, seems merely like discomfort, something we try to avoid at all costs, and it is in this avoidance that our misconception lies. I'm talking about cold, about temperature stress. Why would this seemingly insignificant aspect capture the attention of a thinker like Yoshinori Ohsumi? Because he always sought not external, obvious solutions, but internal, fundamental mechanisms of adaptation. While most of us think of cold as something to simply endure or warm up from, Ohsumi would ask, what happens inside the cell when it encounters such a challenge? Imagine your body is a delicate mechanism, yet incredibly resilient. Let's say you go out into the cold or take a cold shower. What happens? Your body doesn't panic. It doesn't just try to warm up by shivering or constricting blood vessels. At the cellular level, a complex program of survival and optimization is activated. It's as if you suddenly turned off the heating in your cell home. At first, of course, there's discomfort, but then, to survive and maintain functionality under these new conditions, the cell actively begins to rummage through all its reserves. It searches for any energy sources, any resources that could be used to maintain warmth and functionality. And what does it find? All those same old, worn-out, inefficient proteins, damaged mitochondria, everything that was once waste but now becomes valuable fuel and building material. Autophagy is activated to break down the old and build new, more cold-resistant, more energy-efficient components. This is not just a reaction to cold, it's a profound restructuring that makes the cell and therefore the entire body more resilient, more adaptable, more hardened. In a world where we strive for maximum comfort, where any temperature fluctuation is immediately neutralized, we miss a powerful signal for our body. A signal for self-optimization. Ohsumi's discoveries show sometimes to become stronger and more resilient, you need not only to exert or deprive, but to consciously subject yourself to controlled, albeit brief, discomfort, because it is there, at the boundary of familiar comfort, that the hidden mechanisms of our incredible body are activated. So, what does this mean for our future? What future do Yoshinori Ohsumi's discoveries paint for us? This is not just a prediction, it's almost an axiom stemming from the very essence of autophagy. We're on the threshold of an era when true medicine will not so much treat diseases as teach our bodies not to get sick at all. The future of health is not an endless list of new pills, complex surgeries, or gene therapies that will fix us from the outside. No, the future is a deep understanding and activation of those very built-in self-repair programs that already exist in every one of our cells. It's a transition from external addition to internal activation. Imagine a world where chronic diseases, from diabetes to neurodegenerative disorders, become not a sentence but a signal to change one's lifestyle, to activate internal resources. A world where we don't fear aging because we know how to constantly renew ourselves. This sounds like a utopia, but Ohsumi has shown us the door to this world. He gave us not a new technology, but a new philosophy of how to relate to our own bodies. We will not be passive consumers of medical services, but active architects of our own health. But herein lies a huge alarming danger, our biggest blind spot. As a civilization, we have become so accustomed to seeking external solutions. Our economy, our science, our culture, everything is geared towards the idea of constant consumption, constantly adding something new to solve old problems. We await the next magic pill, the next superfood, the next gadget that will make us healthier, smarter, younger. We fear discomfort, we fear hunger, we fear cold, we fear physical exertion. We run from anything that might stress our internal system. And it is in this pursuit of total comfort, in this endless race for external solutions, that we risk completely forgetting the incredible inner strength that Ohsumi revealed to us. We risk becoming weaker, more dependent, despite all our technological progress. For if we always feed and warm our bodies, if we never give them a reason to activate their internal renovation team, then this team will simply atrophy. It will forget how to work. We will become hostages to external assistance, losing the ability to self-heal. This is not just a hypothesis, it is a logical consequence of the use it or lose it principle, applied to our most fundamental biological mechanisms. Think about it. The most powerful tool for your health is within you, but we don't use it because we're too comfortable. We're too busy searching for what we believe we lack from the outside. So how do we avoid missing this turning point? How do we avoid becoming victims of our own progress and losing this internal wisdom? The answer lies not in seeking new external autophagy stimulators, but in changing our fundamental attitude towards life. This is not a call for asceticism or suffering. It is a call for conscious discomfort, for strategic absence, for sometimes not eating, not warming ourselves, not sitting still. It is a call to learn to trust our bodies, giving them the opportunity to do what they have evolved to do for millions of years, self-restore and become stronger in response to a challenge. This means that the future of our health depends not on what we add to our lives, but on what we allow our bodies to do themselves by creating the right conditions for it. This is not just a diet or a workout. It is a new mindset, a new philosophy of life, centered on the inner strength and adaptability of our own organism. This is our chance to become truly autonomous and resilient in a world that constantly strives to make us dependent.